I am alive, and I hope you are too, as I've got some Steam demos to share with you today. There was actually so much, I don't have the time necessary to talk about all of them. As always, no guarantee these demos will stay up after the event, but let's get started already. White Knuckle is a first-person climbing sim made by Dark Machine Games and published by DreadXP. You are a floating pair of hands who has one purpose in life: to climb as high as possible. Why? Because there's a disgusting biomass rising from the floor that will kill you if you fall. That's the second purpose of life, not dying horribly. This is one of the older demos on here, releasing with the previous Next Fest, and I wish I could work out how on earth my dumb arse managed to miss this game the first time around, because I just couldn't get enough of this. As a climbing game, White Knuckle is aiming to be more arcadey in execution, both in terms of pace and a focus on scores and speedruns. But hey, not everything needs to be a ruthless simulation or a magical limited dialogue indie story. Controls are simple, but do require getting used to. Your left mouse button controls your left hand, and your right controls your right. So climbing is a matter of swinging yourself upward whilst alternating your clicks. You can hoist and jump while on an edge, and you need to keep an eye on how much stamina each hand has so you don't lose your grip. The game's real trick comes in when it introduces items. In the tutorial, this was a real gear shift for me, as I could suddenly no longer fly up a wall, but found myself awkwardly trying to navigate menus. There are 2 shortcut slots to help, and I wish the game told me about that before I was halfway up the tutorial wall. You can attach pitons to a wall, but they won't stay in unless hammered. Easy enough on the ground, but this means on a wall you have to stick the thing in with one hand before swapping over to grab the tool with your exhausted hand. Then, after hammering it in, pocket the tool so you can go about your merry way. It's certainly cumbersome to start with, but I will admit that it was coming much more naturally to me the more I did it. There's also things like rebar pipes that can be secured from a distance, provided you have a good enough angle and firm footing. The environment might also have more fixings to offer than just ledges and handholds, such as bars we can swing off, and even ropes.
Look, Gordon, ropes! We can use these for big pits.
Don't forget to snack on some food to regain hand strength mid-climb. Yes, this is how it works in real life. Trust me. Now that you know you have several dozen options available to you, it's time for the main climb. The main campaign, I suppose, is us climbing to get out of a giant pit. Our tutorial was just company training apparently, but then we load up and we're told to immediately escape. And yeah, you're gonna want to do that. Or at least try to. I feel sorry for anyone who decided to just fire up the game without hitting the tutorial, because this game is as brutal as its architecture. As a reminder, you are being timed here, so needing to faff around with a tricky area brings out the sweats. Falling makes your stomach drop, as if you actually fell in real life. You've got to be going hard and fast if you want to make it, and it's taking all my effort not to call it a white knuckle thrill ride right now. Die you will, however. And then you'll come back and find that the tunnel is now different, with a new layout and different items littering the ground. Yes, the game is a roguelite, which I'm of 2 minds about. On one hand, being timed and having my speed measured feels a little disheartening when I can't control when I'm going to get something breezy, or the kind of room that makes me think, well, what am I supposed to do here? I also can't control what items I get, so rather than bespoke designed levels that have items around that could help me, I just sort of pick things up and maybe I'll need them, maybe I won't. Maybe I just won't get what I think I need. On the other hand, I think the game would have very limited appeal, comparatively, if I was just trying the same courses over and over again. I don't think it has the whimsy of, say, Getting Over It, or games like that make restarting it as therapeutic as it is a frustrating experience. No, the grungy vibes of this practically calls for something that isn't fair. Plus, yeah, there's the obvious benefit of each run feeling different, so getting bored is hard. Did I get mad? Oh, you bet. But for me, it's the right kind of getting mad in a game, where it just pumps me up for the next run. There is more danger than just falling, however, but a lot of the game's secrets are best seen for yourself. The demo is quite substantial. Some of the reviews on Steam have clocked a dozen or several dozen hours in just this slice, and I sure as hell didn't see everything. This was a game that was hard for me to tear myself away from, always challenging me to keep going and see what I could find next. If it looks like your kind of thing, I'd recommend checking it out yourself. White Knuckle is releasing at some point in the future, where hopefully I'll have a better handle on things then.
Look, Gordon, a rope. We could use... Help me, Gordon!
Do No Harm is a Lovecraftian doctor simulator made by Darts Games. Lovecraftian Doctor Simulator is probably the easiest I have been sold on a game, and I was delighted to find that the full game seemed to live up to my expectations. In the game, you are a new doctor in a town that is definitely trustworthy, has no secrets to hide, and nothing ever happens out of the ordinary. You're here to run the doctor's business, treating what ails the local folk using the best quackery that ye old medicine can offer. Oh yes, we're not throwing out some paracetamol and asking them to call back later. We've got humours to balance. Blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile, all ready to be administered to help the body. A patient walks in, describes what's wrong, and you check that against your book to find the right medicine. Administer the right dose until cured. Simple as. Except, it's not simple as, because the game stacks complication after complication onto you that you'll have to keep on top of. First, there's administering the correct dosage. This is a number between 1 and 9 that you need to work out. If a patient has a physical symptom, you can use that to narrow it down pretty significantly, but a lot of times they don't. So you might have to guess, but this might eat into your supply. You only have so much medicine and other vital stuffs to give out, and partake in yourself, so make sure you get it right. Plus, the further away from the correct dose you are, the more shots you will have to give. Sure, you might get away with just giving them low doses one after the other, but your other precious resource is time. The clock is ticking, and the doctor will see people from 8 till 8, and then we're closed until the next day. Other patients to see? Too bad. Didn't make enough money? Too bad. You have to balance between the art of being a doctor and also a businessman, trying to earn as much as possible whilst also doing your job right, speedy and efficient. Unfortunately, that might also depend on your patient. Some know exactly what's wrong and roughly how strong their dose should be. Some, however, might come in with just a vague sense of unease, and you have to diagnose them with local medicine first. Others might come in and their words are so vague that there are multiple possibilities for what it could be. And more still will spin a yarn so dense that it's difficult to track what exactly is wrong at all. The game also reminds me a lot of Papers, Please. What with its financial pressures tied to your duties, there are even other characters who visit with different events. One time a woman who was addicted to some of my medicine came in and I just kept giving it to her, leaving me without needed black bile. There are also those who come in with offers, some of them good-natured and in the spirit of the community, others less so, tempting you with opportunities to financially better yourself, or perhaps even to do something even more sinister than that. Oh yes, this is horror-themed, and whilst I don't think it's going to make a streamer scream at their camera, it's another pressure that's put onto you. If you begin to fear that you're losing your mind, you might want to reach for your laudanum off to the side there, until things start looking right again. This part of the game often takes the form of those anomaly hunt games, where it's about noticing a small detail that might be out of place, then reaching for your medicine. If you fail to see something, you'll take a hit to your sanity. Even then, the day will pass with odd events that make you raise an eyebrow for what's going on outside your door, but I shouldn't get too far into that. Such intrigue is best seen for yourself. That said, I do have some complaints I feel it worth mentioning. I don't understand why you have to specifically click on the speech bubbles to advance dialogue. And if we must, I wish it wasn't so finicky. It feels like a bit of a needless time waste in a game full of much more justified and appropriate time wastes. There's a bug when playing at 4K that makes the magnifying glass unusable, so my only death came from a guy I literally could not see the problem with. I wish the book was easier to navigate too, with shortcuts to different sections like symptoms, allergies, and the humour wheel. Oh yes, and the humour wheel. I don't get it. The game seemed aware it was complicated, but I don't think it actually explained what I was doing all that well, so I never used it successfully without specific instruction. Maybe it would have saved that guy I killed, if only I knew how. But let me emphasize, I think the game is strong enough to still get a recommendation despite these quibbles. I mean, it's a Lovecraftian doctor simulator. The premise alone makes me want to see it succeed. I am extremely excited for Do No Harm when it launches on March 6th this year.
Up and Adam troops, time to rise and shine! Get ready for your second day of active service here at Last Defense Academy!
The 100-line Last Defense Academy is a narrative-focused turn-based tactics game made by Tokyo and Mediavision and published by Aniplex. This is the biggest demo that I played here, and we have a lot to cover. Here we go. You play as Takumi Sumino, just a regular student in the Tokyo residential complex. Then, monsters attack, and a weirdly insistent mascot convinces you to stab yourself in the chest with a magical sword, which enables you to fight off the creatures. You then wake up to find yourself trapped inside a school with other teenagers who also fought the monsters. Mascot General Sirei tells us that we're here to defend the school together for 100 days from monster attacks, or else everything we know and love is going to be destroyed. Hell of a premise, but also one that might be lighting up some alarm bells for some people, as well as the art style. Students being kidnapped by a morally questionable mascot and forced to live together in a school. This is a lot like Danganronpa, isn't it?
Yeah, wee! Now we're talking! Can't have a killing game without the obligatory evil mascot!
Oh.
Its cast has even a bunch of extremely loud and slightly twisted character archetypes. You know, we got the angry brawler, the depressed turtle, the creepy twins, the younger Otacon, the dummy mommy, the neurotic nutter, the nauseous mechanic, and the psycho alt girl. These could just be characters from a Secret Fourth game. Well, while it has the same artist as Danganronpa, Rui Komatsuzaki, the same composer, Masafumi Takada, and the writer, Kazutaka Kadaka, it is a different game. A different game that does like to lean on so many references and allusions to the Bear game that only the fact this isn't published by Spike Chunsoft prevents me from thinking it's a stealth sequel of some kind. But it's a different game nonetheless. I mean, there's more than just one Killing Games DNA in here. It's also co-written and directed by Kotaro Ujikoshi, of Zero Escape fame. This is the kind of team-up weeaboos dream of. But we should talk about the game itself already. I'm going to keep this brief because we could go on forever here. So, most of the game is you spending your days at the academy. Sometimes there's story events happening, so you'll talk to your fellow classmates about recent events. Sometimes the academy is under attack and it's your job to go out and fight. And lastly, there's free time, where you can improve yourself by training in the VR room, going out on expeditions, or hanging out with one of your new friends to get a boost to your skills. All three of which link back to the combat by giving you means to improve your fighters. The combat itself is pretty good. It's grid-based and you have to manage between using different moves to attack different patterns of chaff, whilst keeping big hitters ready for the tougher foes. You only have a set amount of actions per turn, but they can be spent however you want. Give everyone a go, or give them all to someone more suited to the situation. But killing bigger enemies can also net you more action points, meaning potentially more attacks to dish out. Then there's a special meter at the top which will let you dish out a devastating attack for no cost, but your teammate will be stunned for a turn.
Gotcha!
There's a lot to consider, but the options presented were not just engaging, but empowering too. It feels great to spend an entire turn just clearing the board of these guys. I S-ranked every mission, including the ones in VR, but boss enemies already showed ways things can be mixed up. Plus there's no guarantee all your fellow students will be there to fight. There's so much to consider in this game. I feel like I'm not even getting into everything, like the writing being so deviously delectable, or the expeditions having this entire fleshed out minigame where you move and scavenge for items, or fight even more monsters. It looks like there'll be more characters in the full game too to see, as well as choices that'll lead to different endings. The 100-line Last Defense Academy is absolutely stuffed full of goodness, and is really hard to summarize. Don't let my Danganronpa talk earlier dissuade you if you're not familiar with Monokuma's killing games. Fans of Persona or 13 Sentinels will probably find things to like here too. Your progress in the demo is carried over to the full game, which I like after spending 4 hours in just a demo. Although, now I have to wait 2 months for the full title to come out? Well, until then, I guess I'll be counting the days. There's been quite a lot of dark games in this demo fest that I liked, and the next 2 are quite relentless. You're not prepared. Labyrinth of the Demon King is a first-person action RPG made by J.R. Hudepole and published by Top Hat Studios. In the game, we are a lone wanderer seeking revenge on the Demon King and must enter their labyrinth. That's as close to simplicity as you'll get in this game. The game's presentation will tip you off it's an homage to several PlayStation 1 games, what with its chunky visuals, oppressive foggy and dark locales. The menus and way of navigating and confirming everything you do also feels very much of the 5th gen's design, and there's the obvious fact it's locked to a 4:3 aspect ratio. Not having widescreen isn't a hindrance though, as by design, you'll find yourself in quite tight environments that the narrow viewpoint complements. The game's main inspirations are the likes of Kingsfield, From Software's first-person dungeon crawlers from before Souls was a term, but set in a twisted feudal Japan instead. The game also takes healthy inspirations from Resident Evil and Silent Hill as well. The exploration and enemy encounter design feels very akin to Resident Evil, but the atmosphere feels much more Silent Hill, both in and out of the dungeon. I do want to touch on the vibes some more, but first, how does it play? Well, while it takes after Kingsfield, it has several aspects that at least make it easier to play than the old PS1 RPG. You can swing your weapon, several weapons actually, and even perform combos with them. Each attack will drain your stamina, however, and it can be easy to run out if you're not thinking. You might have no energy left to block or dodge an enemy's retaliatory strike. Yes, you can both block attacks with correct timing, and also dodge out of the way. You can even kick enemies to stagger them, or make them drop their block. It is an engaging system of possibilities that make the combat, at least as presented in the demo, quite tricksy to get a handle on. There's definitely a rhythm to the proceedings, and beating an enemy is going to require you acting smartly, rather than just slashing and hoping they'll die. These creatures you fight can be armed with a variety of weapons, or maybe just go at you with bare knuckles. Some might even go at you with just big blocks of wood. They might wait in ambush for you to come, or try to sneak up on you. They are hard to predict and feel remarkably intelligent, but you can use this to your advantage. I found that certain enemies will fight one another, so they can whittle each other down before I go in to finish the kill. Necessary, as each combat encounter felt deadly. Healing supplies are somewhat limited, so you don't want to be wasting them. I never felt safe in this game. And the vibes are truly out of this world. I haven't felt such visceral terror in my body whilst playing a game in a long time. But here I am, paranoid about what's behind every corner, constantly checking behind me in case there's something there. The documents help build an atmosphere of absolute dread too. NPCs don't exactly feel trustworthy, and then there's the cutscenes. Pre-rendered, grody-looking PS1-esque cutscenes that look like my video game has suddenly become a snuff film, and I'm the main star. Many games have inflicted horrible terror on me by utilizing the uncertainty of low-poly visuals, but Labyrinth of the Demon King is working on a whole other level. I have not felt my body's fight or flight response fire so wildly in a long, long time. This is a genuinely incredible game. It's difficult and oppressive, but I want more. I want more of this inflicted on me. It doesn't have a release date yet, but I'm looking forward to picking up the thread when Labyrinth of the Demon King is complete. Anoxia Station is a turn-based base-building strategy game made by Yakov Butazov and Daria Vodyanaya. Apologies if I said those wrong. In the game, you control a mining station on a now uninhabitable Earth. Resources are few, it's hot in these tunnels, and the radiation is picking up. If only that were the last of your troubles. So you'll start the game by moving your home base to where you want it. Then setting it up, it's time to dig out from here, getting through the walls to see what you can find around you. Then building more structures to get yourself resources like fuel, crude oil, water, oxygen, just things to help the place feel more habitable. These structures often cross over in some way, taking away from one resource to give you another, so you do have to balance the books a little here, which is easier said than done. Not all resources are quite so freely available, so to find them we're going to need to keep on digging. You do need a free space against a wall to dig, so make sure you don't seal yourself in with your own buildings. Sometimes when digging you'll find stuff. Resource pools of oil or water are an indulgence. But finding other things such as magma pools or toxic flora might be more of a hindrance unless you can deal with them. Ruins from times gone by are an opportunity for exploration, which will earn you tech points to upgrade yourself with. Maybe you'll even find something long lost that you can use for your advantage, in some form or another. But you might also encounter the new residents of Earth. If you're lucky, they won't have hatched yet. If you're unlucky, bugs are bad, and will require you to focus in order to stop them from rampaging against your buildings. Fortunately, you do have quite a lot of options to protect yourself, so while these giant creatures are terrifying, they can be managed. What is much more difficult to manage is the wrath of Mother Earth herself. Earthquakes will damage and outright destroy your buildings, crumbling the delicate balance you were trying to strike here. This is a harsh game. I didn't find normal difficulty too hard, but the atmosphere is downright oppressive. I played this in a well-lit room in the middle of the day, and still felt like I was trapped in the cave with my people. Danger could lurk around any corner, and these caves conceal secrets maybe best left uncovered. But we have a mission to complete down here, so we must venture forth. It's a mixture of the game's rumbly and alien soundscape, and the visuals which are purposefully sort of hazy, but in a good way. I feel like I'm watching a video recovered by miners where things are just a little indistinct to keep me on edge. I do wish it was easier to see tiles that are being obscured by walls so I can dig a little easier. These are usually the places that need the most attention, but I struggle to find them sometimes. The environment is actually quite a busy place visually. I also encountered a bug, I think, that prevented me from finishing the demo. Eventually you get alerted that there's a super earthquake coming and it's time to leave. Fortunately, I'd already dug up a tunnel that my engineers say my station could use to escape. However, when we picked up sticks and made for the hole, I found I couldn't actually get into it, and I wasn't given a reason why. Was it because I hadn't done all my objectives? If I did have to do that, it would have been nice to at least have been told that's what I had to do, but ah well. We may have perished, but I had fun along the way. Anoxia Station is dark and weird and really damn compelling. Its setting feels novel and unique, and it's executed with such overwhelming bleakness. Ever wanted to know what playing Civilization is like whilst on your own and listening to early Swans albums? Well, maybe here's a game for you. It doesn't have a release date yet, but I'll be paying a lot of attention to this game when it finally hatches. Wanderstop is a sort of cozy, narrative-focused tea-making game made by Ivy Road and published by Annapurna, or whoever still works there. The gameplay premise of Wanderstop is so simple, I already summed it up to you in that first sentence. It's a sort of cozy tea-making game. We are here to make and sell tea from a tea shop. I can go further, but it's probably going to take less time than it does for me to brew myself some tea. Let's test that actually. You have to manage the harvesting and drying of the tea leaves, but tea is made from more than just that. So there's a fairly inventive gardening minigame where you're meant to align plants in certain patterns to get them to spawn hybrids that bear fruit. You don't see much of it, but it looks like you can mix and match plants to make different fruits, so there is potential in here. Once you have the ingredients all ready, it's time to brew them in the giant tea brewing machine, handling every step of the process. The game says you can put anything in to brew, which makes me really wonder about the possibilities here. Then you can serve a nice hot tea to whoever wants it. Then, make the shop look nice? Take photos and hang them? Yeah, the gameplay premise is as simple as me brewing a cup of Yorkshire here. I'm not saying it's bad by any means, it all feels intuitive, and I would love to experiment in the full game. The demo is quite short though, so you can't get stuck in with everything that's presented. The game's visuals and sounds are absolutely standout superb though. Colourful and serene environments as far as the eye can see, and the music is composed by C418, who composed for a little game called Minecraft. It is appropriately soothing, and matches the sort of cozy vibes the game is going for. Sort of cozy. Yeah, see, I haven't mentioned the story, which is actually a huge focus of the demo. You play as a woman named Alta, who is a fighter, who trained long and hard to win glory and fame in combat, when suddenly...
I made it. I can...
She loses. She tries again, but then she keeps losing, and begins to fall into an aggressive, angry spiral.
I'm weak. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. A failure. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it. I don't want to be this person. No. Snap out of it, Alta. Do not go to that place again. Take responsibility. This can be fixed.
We join her on a mad hunt to find a trainer who can help her, who lives out in the world somewhere. When suddenly, she's struck by an almighty fatigue, affecting her so much she can't even lift her sword anymore, and soon, not even herself. That's when she's rescued by the kindly Borrow, who takes her in and invites her to rest with him in his tea shop. Alta does not want to be here, does not want to rest, but she can no longer lift her sword, no matter how hard she tries. It's a difficult pill for her to swallow, and she agrees to work with Borrow just until she recovers her strength again. But maybe this problem runs deeper than just feeling tired. There is a temptation to leap out and not trust the things around us in this game. Borrow speaks with a kindly but broken English, and his sensibilities can be odd, to say the least. But I never got the impression of malice from him. I could lean into a suspicion that the witch is fattening me up at their gingerbread house or something, or I could look at that thought and ask if I'm projecting outward a fear of something inside myself. Is the problem actually me, and what I've been doing to myself all this time? Working myself until I'm tired, trying to chase after the buzz of inspiration whose smoked wick has been forced to burn too hot and too long. Is the answer slowing down and being kinder to myself, rather than trying to force myself through my own weariness and depression? Like, I'm pretending it's not even there as I try to get back to writing? Alta back to combat, yes. The game is written and directed by Davey Reedon, one of the people behind the Stanley Parable, and the creator of The Beginner's Guide, which feels like important context for this game. It's picking up some of the same thoughts from the beginner's guide, and I'm genuinely curious how it develops them further after all this time, and how it explores them in a different setting. I like Wanderstop a lot. I don't feel I can trust it, and maybe the demo's brevity is so it can hide more of its secrets. Fortunately, it's out on March 11th, where I look forward to it spilling the tea. Oh no, my tea! Hello. Yes, it has been a while since my last video, and I apologise. There should be a new video in March, so please look forward to it. I'll get more into what's been happening with me after that's out. Thank you to my Patreon supporters in the meantime, whose kindness and patience has been wonderful. I paused the Patreon over the holidays because I wasn't happy with my own progress, but we should be back on now I've finished this, and I'm working towards the next project. We have a lot of questions to get to today, which makes me happy to know so many of you care, so let's get to it right away. Favourite food? Gonna sound basic and say beef burgers, but I had a burger once, which was the best burger I ever had in my life. There wasn't a ranking before that burger, but now I am chasing that memory. What's the first thing that draws me into checking out a demo? Not any one thing, but I'll always try games that look like they're doing something different. Whether it's with their visuals and atmosphere, or their story, or gameplay concepts, having some kind of unique hook will make me double take when scrolling the store. Personal preference on spoilers. I prefer as little as possible, to the point that if I'm sold on playing something, I'll usually stop looking up anything about it to experience it all for myself. Same with films. Actively avoid even trailers sometimes where possible. What got me into content creation? I followed many people making different stuff over the years, and then I just went at it myself. It wasn't always successful. Even the early stuff on this channel doesn't even constitute half of what I've tried to do over the years, but I just kept plugging away at it, and occasionally I got notice. Sometimes a lot. How do I start sorting these demo fests? I've learned to start early. A lot of devs upload their demos before the festival, and so I check out the Steam demo homepage, and from there it's mostly the same vibes and impressions-based stuff I talked about earlier. Though I do also pay attention to if there's buzz around a game as I'm going through. This is how I got hooked on Balatro. How great is the animation when you free a cat in Skin Deep? I didn't get a chance to cover this game in this video, only so many hours in a day to write and edit, but it's also pretty fun, and the animation is great. No notes. Had any good meal deals lately? In supermarkets, no. But I recently moved, and a takeaway near me has a good offer on chicken and doner meat with chips, and I haven't felt like cooking all the time, so I've had to restrain myself on that, for my own health. More adventure game videos? Yes. I would actually like to get more of these made this year. It won't be the next video, but I am aware they are wanted, and I will deliver. Have I played Skies of Arcadia, and would I review it? I have not played it, though I do know it. Reviewing a JRPG is a daunting task, especially one with a reputation like Arcadia has. Let me take the time to recommend Majuular, however, who has many in-depth reviews on many RPGs, including Skies of Arcadia. He has been an absolute joy to watch for a while now, and I'll put a link to his channel in the description. And we made it. Thank you all. Hopefully it won't be long before the next video, though I can't approximate when it will be. Stay safe in the meantime, and I'll see you later.
At ease, soldiers. It's time to hit the hay. Well then, good night.